Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. This is going to be our first annual Math Week curriculum roundup. Yeehaw! So we have a number of math curriculums that we're going to go over, and we know a lot of people are either starting their first homeschool year or they're getting into, the first, second or third or fourth year that they're doing.
This is like the kind of the first year post-COVID, or maybe we're still in COVID, but I feel like a lot of people feel like this is our first year again. Even if you've homeschooled before, everyone's getting into time to get curriculums.
Absolutely.
And so we did the same. We reached out to a number of curriculum creators, and they all sent us, thankfully, they sent us these curriculums to review. As always, this is our own fair and honest review, but we wanted to just take a look at some popular options that we've heard from some of our listeners that they use, and we thought we would break those down for you, so there'll be an episode every day this week for you to listen to, hopefully a short review of each curriculum. Now, we requested kinder and first grade because that's the level that our learner's at. So we are just finishing her kinder curriculum for math.
And some of these popular math curriculums start at first grade. They actually don't start at the kinder level.
Right. So we weren't able to request something younger. So we did our best to try to fit this in. If you've got a learner that's maybe in third grade or fourth grade, you can kind of take what we've said here about the earlier levels and look and see if that seems consistent with the online resources of the older levels, if it, kind of has the same style and things as we're talking about. So today
we're talking about mathematical reasoning level A from the Critical Thinking Company.
Right. So this is their kindergarten math curriculum.
Kindergarten, yes.
So tell us what. I'm going to let Matt is our math expert here, Mr. Half a master's degree in mathematics over there. So I'm going to MC this today, and he's going to talk about all the good stuff. And the other thing is, as Matthew's a stay-at-home dad, he is our primary educator, and he's been the one working through math with our kindergartner. So this is like in his wheelhouse to talk about exactly how he feels about each of these, in relation to how would this work with our kids. And we're going to talk about format and
kind of look and feel and kind of like the impression of the curriculum.
Right. And pros and cons. Who's this for? Who's this not for? That's how we're going to kind of structure these. So to get into it, can you tell us about the structure? How many books are there? What does this look like if a family were to buy mathematical reasoning?
Perfect. Yeah. So if you pick up the book, you would notice that it's a single book curriculum. So everything is included as one kind of guide or workbook. It has supplemental resources available, but not too many. It is not a manipulative centered curriculum. So you're just going to have the workbook. So if you have to do something additional or do some additional learning or education, you're going to have to supply those manipulatives. So think of this as just a workbook, mathematical book. Now, it's about 250 pages, pretty hefty. I believe the price is somewhere in the $30 range.
About $30.
So pretty nice price if you're looking at something
it's budget conscious.
Yeah, budget conscious, really, definitely.
So take us through the style. Yeah. What does it look like? It's very colorful.
It's very colorful. So it's actually broken up into multiple lessons. Every lesson is highlighted and organized by a specific topic, and those topics are listed up in the top right. They do like to cycle back, so there's a little bit of a cycling.
So this is a cyclic versus a mastery based curriculum. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. What's really cool about this curriculum, and I think if you are concerned about Common Core, it does follow the national standards for math teachers. They have put this together.
Which supports Common Core. It's not exactly Common Core,
but they support
closely aligned.
I think they, in their literature, help educate on
I think
Common
they
Core
help
issues.
create Common
Yeah.
Core. They support, provide support to Common Core. It was a little difficult to understand, but it is closely aligned with Common Core. So I think if
you're in a
thinking,
state that has a lot of reporting,
Right.
or you're maybe taking 1 year off and you're thinking maybe you'll go back to the school system or something of that nature, if you want to stay within what the expectations are, this may be a good choice for you in that respect.
Yeah,
They have
true.
all the skills listed out. So if you are trying to put together a plan, some type of resource plan or education plan for another teacher, they have a beautiful table of contents where they kind of lay out all the skills. They lay out all the subjects and the various things. What's really beautiful about this is the artwork. Every single page, very colorful, very visual, very big activities. If you could imagine kind of a more impressive scholastic book, if anybody's ever picked up any of those like kind of pre-K, K educational activity books, you can imagine this being kind of a, that on steroids,
Right.
but for math. What's really nice is that I like how they have the perforated pages. So if you do want to tear these pages out, you can absolutely do that.
So if you wanted to put them in slick sheets and have your learner be able to do them repeatedly, you could.
Absolutely, especially if you have to show reporting as well, so you may want to save those as well. Really nice in that manner. My initial feelings about this is it feels more visual, more playful, more entertaining. If you have a learner who needs to be, excited about what they're doing in the standpoint of like the visuals.
So is this something that a parent is going to have to teach a child? Is it high touch? Is it something a child does on their own?
No, this is definitely probably more towards the learner-led,
Okay.
where they are doing it on their own. The activities are fairly self-explanatory, fairly easy to understand, maybe just a little bit of instruction on what is expected, and the learner can go off and, finish the exercise, finish the lesson. This is helpful for those parents who have like a large family.
Right.
If you have a lot of kids and you don't have time to put in a lot of one-on-one time, this may be good for you to implement into your educational structure, whatever you may be doing.
So take us through what a typical lesson would look like in mathematical reasoning.
So, for example, like on the first few pages, they have, learning to write your numbers. We've seen that a lot. The writing aspect of it, isolating what type of, this is one, and, pick out one apple, and this is two, pick out two ducks. And then it just continues to build and build and build on that until the very end where you have, your traditional mathematical problems where you have, equations, 3 + 2, is 5. Right.
So is it multi-pages per lesson? Is it like one page is a lesson? How much, I guess what I'm really asking is, what do you think the time commitment per lesson would be for this? What does it look like
It's
to you?
not specifically, if you've done more of a lesson-based curriculum where you say, there's 170, 120 lessons that you have to complete for the year. They don't have that. This is really just do a couple pages a day and you're done. It's not really structured in that manner where say, okay, this is a chapter, we're covering these topics. At the end of that topic is an assessment. There's just nothing like that. So it's really just a, brute force all the way through the book, no breaks at all in the sense of like lessons and assessments. And
Right. So it has 250 pages and it doesn't have defined breaks. So is this something that you think is every page a 5-minute, a 10-minute? Kind of what's your sense if you gave this to our kindergartner, what would it take for her to do one of these pages in, say, the middle of the book?
In the middle of the book, let me just see if I can pick that out. I couldn't imagine this taking more than a couple minutes per page. So if you are trying to shoot for 100 school days, 150 school days, you're probably going to do 2 to 3 pages a day. So you're looking at 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Okay.
If you don't have that type of time, you may try to bundle it up and do a half hour 3 times a week, something of that nature. That's kind of what you're looking at to probably, from my experience with my learner who's kind of at the end of the math for the kindergarten level, I would expect her to probably spend about 10 to 15 minutes a day.
Okay, great.
And that's why, as an aside, I really like this book. If you are doing a math curriculum and you're looking for something to do in like a morning basket,
as a supplement.
this is as a supplement, I think is a really nice thing. Also, if you're maybe trying to catch up from during the summer, this may be another place to slot it in.
Maybe prevent the summer slump.
Summer slump is a good thing to do.
Or
that.
what if you had a child who was maybe doing like online learning with COVID last year, or maybe they're coming out of public school and you're
Absolutely.
not sure exactly like what level they would be at. This seems like a great way to like quickly assess skills and maybe just, kind of blaze through what do you know, what do you not know from kinder.
Yeah, especially if you're doing
first grade or whatever level.
some type of online learning where you're doing kind of a Zoom school type of thing and you're not feeling like they're getting enough.
Or you kind of want to test their knowledge. Maybe
perfect.
Could you use this as like a light assessment?
Absolutely.
Way?
Definitely it's just I don't know if you could do it as an assessment because it's so long.
I just mean you could say like,
Yeah.
does my child understand how to do the simple addition? This is a good way to like
I believe
assess
if I gave
each
this
skills.
If I gave this to our daughter right now, she could blaze through the first half of this in no time. Right? Maybe slow down a little bit more towards the end. Maybe a little bit more instruction is needed there.
Mm-hmm.
But from the standpoint of doing this as an assessment, maybe you're right. Maybe like in a couple of weeks, you could get a good idea and just kind of hop them through the lessons.
See where they're at, or say, this seems like a good way if you wanted to reinforce a skill that, maybe your child was having trouble on, that you had done some high touch, really involved teaching, and then you want them to get some more practice with that on their own. Would this be a good book for that?
Yes. Yeah. I really like this as a supplemental. I don't know if I would choose this just from my own opinion as a standalone curriculum. I do feel you need some manipulatives. You just need something a little bit extra.
Is that something that they sell, or that you would probably, maybe you could find manipulatives around your house or things to help with counting?
Yeah.
Maybe reinforce the subject.
Yeah. They even recommend having some blocks available, some tiles, things of that nature to help, expand on certain concepts. But they don't explicitly have like a list of manipulatives. Hey, you should have these things. It just doesn't have that. So I think some people who may want a little bit more or need a little bit more, you'll have to supply that and supplement that.
So does this give information for the teacher? Obviously you said this is more something the student would do independently. Does it give a lot of background for teachers? Any other exercises, or is it you're telling your student this is what you need to do on this page?
Yeah, exactly. It's really just a short intro, a short instruction, and then they go off and do the exercise.
Okay. It's
not really a deep lecturing type of style of learning math. It's really just do the exercise. Does the kid have, did they do it correctly? Great. If they didn't, help them through it and do it again. And what's nice about it is they do spiral back. So if your learner, struggled on one little aspect, maybe you'll do some supplemental stuff. And then, a week or two later, they'll get it again, whatever that might be. So, I like it from that standpoint, but I don't know if I would use it as a standalone curriculum.
So the way we want to wrap up each of these, we want to talk about who do we feel that this curriculum is best served for, what students and families, and who is it not for? So Matt, who do you think that this is really for? What do you think that the right target is for mathematical reasoning?
So two things stand out the most. Visual learners, so kids who really like to see colorful things, great drawings, things of that nature, who they like to see the pictures and like to, do drawing and workbooks. Great book for that. Really, really good there. Also, if you have kind of a budget, if you have there's a tight budget on your curriculum, another great
$30 for the year is a pretty good price for
$30 is not a bad thing for the year. Absolutely. Families with a lot of children that don't have enough time to do the one-on-one thing. I think we mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think that this would be another good thing for you. If you're just strapped for time and you're touching about 5 or 6 kids, it's going to be hard to give them the one-on-one time. This type of book would be great because it is kind of workbook-led, workbook learning. Also, if you want to supplement an existing curriculum, I think this is a great option. I would actually, we're actually going to start to put this in.
Yeah, we're going to use it.
We're going to put this in the morning basket and actually have our learner. One of the things I like doing, as an aside, is I like, once we've done a deep dive on a big curriculum, like for example, we're getting to the end of our math curriculum, I'd like to go back and pick up something like this and just have my learner go through and show
the skills that she's learned.
But also as a confidence builder, being able to do the workbooks very easily, doing easy, activities, it's a real nice confidence boost. And it's a great thing to slide into the morning basket. So if you're considering on doing review and using your morning basket as kind of a review time to catch up from the year, I love that. I love this idea. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with this curriculum, is I'm going to put it in as a kind of a morning basket review. Additionally, if you have kind of somebody who's reluctant at math, kind of a kid who struggles a little bit.
Maybe they had some bad public school math experiences.
Exactly. So we don't know the higher levels, so we've only looked at the level A. But this is probably a really good curriculum for a kid who maybe has a little bit of struggling with math, because it is fun. It's very visual. It's very engaging. It's not a heavy touch where the parent is lecturing or instructing really heavily. So I think there's a lot of great independent learning, good confidence building if they need to. And maybe if they're a little bit of afraid or a little concerned about having somebody looking at them while they're doing the math, little self-conscious in that respect, this is a good option for that as well.
We talked about people entering homeschool from public school
Yep.
to kind of assess where your child is at, or if you think there might be some gaps in the
Absolutely.
last year that they did. We talked about this also for preventing summer slumps. So there's a couple of other things that you had added in.
Absolutely. Now, who is this not for? Definitely kinesthetic learners, kids who like to move, kids who like to touch things and manipulate things. Because there's no manipulatives and it's really just a workbook, your learners may struggle a little bit with this. I do notice my learner is starting to like workbooks. Coming from the morning basket, but also she's a kinesthetic learner. She likes to manipulate things and move tiles and everything.
She kind of likes both.
She likes a little bit of both. So I'm excited about actually putting this into our morning basket as a morning routine for that. So if you have a kinesthetic learner, you may have a little bit of trouble with your learner with this. Additionally, not for parents who want to, understand why they're doing the teaching. So there's not a lot of instruction or
the background behind the concepts.
Yeah. A lot of times, some curriculums will give you the instructor or the guide or the teacher in whatever role you're in, a little bit more of a background on what you're doing. And that can help you when you're teaching concepts that if the learner doesn't understand, you can maybe pivot or change or adapt or maybe come up with a new way to teach that subject. This just doesn't supply that. So if you want a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of why you're teaching certain concepts, this probably would not help you with that. So do keep an eye on for that. And it's also not for high touch learners. So there are some learners that really need the help. They want you right there with them. This is really not for that. This is really just the workbook. They're going to be doing the activities. There's not a lot of repetition. If you're using manipulatives to show something, or you're counting by twos, or you're doing abacus work, or you're doing balance stuff, that's just not here. And so if a kid likes that and they want you to be there with them to get the validation of the learning, you can help do the validation with the work pages as you do them, but not necessarily with the manipulatives and stuff. So a lot of high touch learners may need the manipulatives there to help them. Or if you have a learner that wants to ask a lot of questions through things, that may not be this for this curriculum. So that's kind of my initial assessment of it. I really like it, and I'm really actually excited for my learner to actually, go through it and actually work on it. But that was my initial feedback of going through all 250 pages and looking at all the pages and seeing how the learning goes and progresses, and then playing that against what we've seen with our learner. So this is my basic feedback of this curriculum.
This is your expert review.
Oh, yes, definitely expert. You guys, you're not going to get a better review than this.
All right. Well, everybody stay tuned. Continue with Math Week. We're going to be talking about some other great curriculums too. So thanks for all your time in reviewing this.
All right.
Honey.
Honey bear.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!